downtown. Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, Cap?
I'm surprised. I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I went on a Bum of the Month tour.
Bum of the month? I would have been a bum compared to you.
Well, you've been on the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Storian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Box Storian. Today, the life and career of Ed Gunboat Smith. Ed Gunboat Smith has the family today. It's Friday, right back at the end of another big week of boxing history. Been a big week. A lot of highlights of boxing history this week. It's Profile Day. Ed Gunboat Smith. We did Gunboat last year, but found a nice, better profile on him this time. little bit more in depth on his pro boxing career. He was a referee. Gunboat was an actor too. So didn't star, but he had a bit role in 4 or 5 movies. Gunboat got a hell of a resume. Jack Dempsey, Sam Langford, Harry Wills, Harry Grab, Stanley Ketchel. Well, everybody had great resumes back then, so yeah. Gunboat got in there with the big names. Beat some of them. We're going to talk about it today. And then Gunboat is not a long profile, so then we got some other fighters from that era, like Battling Nelson, James J. Jeffries, Barbados Joe Walcott, Sam McVeigh, Joe Jeanette, Tommy Burns, Stanley Ketchel, and the legendary Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, all from between the 1900s and 1920s. We're going to talk about them today too. All that today on Cast Sports, The Box Story, bringing you all that boxing history. What's going on tomorrow? We got a fight tonight. Tonight, Michael Conlan versus Kevin Walsh from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Then tomorrow, I guess the big card is Carlos Adames and Austin Ammo Williams. Like I told y'all, the Father Time has caught the plane to Ammo's town, and he's waiting for Ammo to get back after the Adames fight to knock on his door and tell him, that's it, Ammo. I'm entering your life. Father Time. Father Time gets everybody. Got me too. Father Time put me out the pasture. I wasn't a boxer, but he still put me out the pasture. And then it's Ammo Williams' turn. But he's facing Adames tomorrow. I don't see how Ammo can win. Yeah, Omari Jones on that card too. And then also tomorrow, Lester Martinez back in action for his first. Al Booger in the building. What's up, Al Booger? We're going to talk about Gunboat today, Al Booger. I know we did him last year, but I found a better, more deep, in-depth profile on Gunboat. I didn't know he was an actor too. He was an actor, a referee. That big controversial fight between Jack Shark and Max Smelling in the late 20s. Gunboat refereed that. Yeah. Salute, Al Booger. Happy Friday. Lester Martinez in action tomorrow against Emmanuel Aleem. This is his first fight after that barn burner against Billy, Christian and Billy. That last year, yeah. When they was deep in the pocket. They was down at the bottom of the pocket. That fight. Everybody was wishing for immediate run back, but they went in their different directions, like they always do. Fight like that in the old days, them guys want to go at each other immediately again, Settle that, but maybe we'll get it again someday. And then next week is a big one. We've been waiting for this one. Sebastian Fundora against Keith One Time Thurman. Okay, or will it be Once Upon a Time? We'll see. I think it might have been bad for Keith, man. Yeah, Keith should be out of there. Father Time already knocked on Keith's door, but Keith just, didn't listen to Father Time. You're back in there. And man, Fundora is getting good. I don't know how Keith's going to get up in there to get his points, because Fundora has become better and better at that, at using his tools, that height and that distance. Long reach and stuff, where he used to just stand up in the pocket and battle. He can still do that, but he knows how to use his advantages now. And man, I don't think Keith got anything coming, but that's next weekend. We got Wilder coming up soon too. The youngster Moses Atama versus Jermaine Franklin is also next weekend. And we got Wilder coming up for the near future. Wilder is April 4th, the week after next, against Derek Chisora from London. Wilder going to make a boatload of money like he usually do. 6 o'clock p.m. tonight is the ring walk for Conlan. Thank you, Al Booger. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know it was that early. Wow. What is that? The Zone, Al Booger? Oh, thank you. But that's what we got coming up in the near future. Then, of course, Monster and Inoue. Well, not Monster and Inoue. How can it be Monster and Inoue? Monster Inoue at Nakatani is like May 2nd, early in May. And then Benavidez and Zerto Benavidez and Zerto, whoever wins that fight, that will be a huge win for the winner of that one. Yeah, huge win for the winner of that one. Yeah, all that's coming up soon, though. Okay. But now coming up real soon is our fight of the day. So let's get into that. That's coming up immediately. So without further ado, today's fight of the day. Yeah, Al Booker was the first one that told me Gunboat was a Navy man. That's how he got his nickname, Gunboat. Yep, Gunboat Smith was in the Navy. They gave him he started boxing in the Navy, and he was a tough customer. And his mates gave him the nickname Gunboat. Yep, that's how he got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said putting Gunboat earlier. I was thinking about Al Booker, and there he is. He's in here already. Al Booker seen that Gunboat. Got Ed Gunboat Smith. Yeah, that's how he got his nickname. He was a Navy man. Okay, but the fight of today now is Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpenter, June 2nd, 1921. The first $1 million gate. Tried to find a big fight back around Gunboat's era. You know, this is the biggest one I could find. What's some other big ones like Jack Johnson and Just Willett? But yeah, this is a big one. This was the first $1 million gate. First fight that drew $1 million at the gate in boxing history, promoted by Tex Rickard, the Bob Father Don King of the era. Well, he was the Bob Father Don King before them. But yeah, Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpenter, July 2nd, 1921, the first $1 million gate. There they are. Dempsey on the right, Carpenter on the left, right there in that shot. Okay, let's talk about it. Excuse me. The Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpenter fight was contested at Boyle's 30 Acres in Jersey City, New Jersey, in which reigning American champion Jack Dempsey defeated French light heavyweight title holder Georges Carpenter by technical knockout in the 4th round of a scheduled 12-round fight. Now billed as the Battle of the Century by promoter Tex Rickard, the fight pitted the aggressive, hard-punching Dempsey, known for his devastating knockout power, against the scientific, elusive Carpenter, a decorated World War I aviator who had never previously competed as a heavyweight. Yeah. So, wow, those guys were just built different back then. Imagine your first fight at heavyweight is against Jack Dempsey, the champion, and probably the best heavyweight ever at that point. So Carpenter was daring to be great. First fight at heavyweight against Jack Dempsey himself. Okay? So the event, they built the specially made stadium on this big farm in Jersey City, New Jersey, and there it is too. The event drew an estimated crowd of over 90,000 spectators to the temporary wooden stadium, generating a then unprecedented gross revenue of $1,789,238 and marking the first $1 million gate in boxing history, which underscored the sport's burgeoning commercial appeal in the post-war era, post-World War I. Despite Carpenter's early success with a knockout of Dempsey in the 2nd round, Dempsey always went down early though, for some reason. Yeah, one of them type of things. He was a great champion, but a lot of times in fights, 1st, 2nd round, he would get knocked down. So Carpenter put him on the mat in the 2nd round, and that prompted a brief moment of crowd frenzy. The American champion recovered, overwhelming his smaller opponent with a barrage of punches that left Carpenter unable to continue after 2 knockdowns in the 4th round. Now, the fight's radio broadcast by a WJY station represented an early milestone in sports media, extending its reach beyond the arena and amplifying its cultural impact. Very historic fight because this was the first fight on radio too. First $1 million gate, first fight on radio. Didn't have TV then, but yeah. So this was a very historic fight. Let's talk about the fighters' backgrounds. A little background on both of them. First, the champion, Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey's background and rise. William Harrison Dempsey was born on June 24th, 1895, in the small town of Manassas, Colorado, into a large family of modest means as one of 11 children born to Hiram and Celia Dempsey, who had roots in West Virginia. That's why they call it the Manassas Mauler, born in Manassas, Colorado. Now, the family's frequent relocations in pursuit of mining and labor opportunities exposed young Dempsey to hardship, prompting him to leave home around age 13, during which he adopted a transient lifestyle, riding freight trains across the American West while taking odd jobs in mining camps and saloons. In these rough environments, Dempsey began participating in bare knuckle and glove fights against miners and laborers for small stakes, developing a self-taught aggressive punching style characterized by relentless swarming attacks and powerful hooks, which earned him the early nickname Kid Blackie. Yeah, Kid Blackie. Jack Dempsey had it rough. That's when they tried to say Jack Dempsey dropped Harry Wills. I say, no, Jack Dempsey's not, his background, he's not the type of fighter that would duck anybody, man. He used to walk in the bar and challenge the biggest guy in there to a fight for money just to eat. And Jack said he couldn't afford to lose because if he lost, he didn't eat that day. So losing was not an option. It don't sound like somebody gonna do any kind of ducking to me. But Dempsey transitioned to semi-pro and pro fights around 1912, primarily in Utah, Colorado mining towns, where he fought under various pseudonyms and accumulated weights and journeymen. By 1916, under the management of promoter Jack Doc Kearns, who refined his training and positioning, Dempsey's record strengthened with notable wins, including knockouts of opponents like Gunboat Smith in 1917 and a rematch victory over fireman Jim Flynn in 1918 after an earlier loss to Flynn, building his profile as a legitimate contender despite occasional setbacks against established names. These fights, often held in small venues with sparse crowds, showcased Dempsey's durability and knockout power, averaging over 70% of his pro title fights ending inside the distance, while Kearns marketed his raw, unpolished ferocity to attract attention from East Coast promoters. The pivotal moment in Dempsey's rise came on July 4th, 1919, when he challenged reigning heavyweight champion Jess Willett at Bayview Park Arena in Toledo, Ohio, under promoter Tex Ricard's organization, at 187 pounds against Willett's 245-pound frame. The 24-year-old Dempsey dominated from the opening bell, knocking the champion down 7 times in the first round with a barrage of body and head shots. They broke Willett's jaw and inflicted severe facial damage. Willett, inactive for over 3 years and way past his prime, retired on his stool before the 4th round, conceding the title in a TKO after 3 rounds of one-sided punishment before a crowd of about 7,000 spectators. This upset victory, achieved without the use of illegal hand wraps, as later alleged, but unsubstantiated in contemporary accounts, transformed Dempsey from regional brawler to national heavyweight king, drawing gate receipts of $100,000 and setting records for brutality in a title fight. In 1920, Dempsey defended the belt twice against Billy Miss in September and Bill Brennan in December, solidifying his status ahead of international challenges. Okay, let's take a look at George Carpenter. I got a little carried away. This ain't gonna be that long. It's almost like a profile of Jack Dempsey today. But I just want to take a look at both fighters before we get started. Georges, much shorter than that. Here's Georges. He's arguably the best French fighter of all time. Him and Marcel Cerdan. And what's up, Crush the Legend in the building? It's the morning man. It's Mondays through Fridays, 6:30 a.m. Crush the Legend. The realest man on YouTube. Very versatile too. You might hear music, entertainment, politics, anything on Crush the Legend. But salute, Crush. Good to see you today. We're talking about the fight of the day now, Crush, but we're going to get into Gunboat Smith today. But let's take a look at Georges Carpenter. Then we're going to get into this historic fight. This was the first fight that drew $1 million at the gate, this one, 1921. Yep. Now, Georges Carpenter was born on January 12th, 1894, in Lens, France, to a family headed by a coal miner. He turned pro at age 14, debuting on November 1st, 1908, against young Johnson in Paris, France, where he competed initially as a flyweight or bantamweight. Now, see, that's significant. This man started his career as a flyweight or bantamweight, 112, 118, and now he's fighting Jack Dempsey as a heavyweight. That's a wide range right there. Mm-hmm. And this was his first fight at heavyweight against the king, Jack Dempsey, but started at 112, and now he's at heavyweight. Wow. Did they have steroids back then? Because he had to have been on them. From 112 to heavyweight. Wow. I don't guess they had them back then, so I don't know, but that's a wide range right there. But yeah, he started at flyweight 112 and went all the way to heavyweight. And his debut was in 1908. Now, Carpenter's rapid ascent continued with victories in multiple weight classes. In 1911, he captured both the French and European welterweight titles. The next year, 1912, he added the European middleweight championship to his resume. By 1913, he was all the way up at light heavyweight, where he secured the European title and the European heavyweight titles, demonstrating versatility across divisions up to heavyweight, despite weighing around 175 pounds. His style, characterized by speed, elegance, and punching power, earned him the moniker, the Orchid Man. And back then, we didn't have cruiserweight, so once you got past 175, you were at heavyweight. And he fought at 175. He fought at heavyweight weighing about 175. Wow. Now, World War I interrupted his career from 1914 to 1918, during which Carpenter served as a pilot in the French aviation service, completing over 50 missions and receiving the Croix de Guerre for valor. Some kind of French medal you get over there for valor, courage in the war, and every stuff like that, right? He resumed boxing in 1919, immediately knocking out British heavyweight champion Joe Beckett in the first round on May 21st at Olympia in London to reclaim the European heavyweight crown. Came back and got his European title back right away. Then, in 1920, Carpenter defeated Battling Levinsky by decision September 24th in Jersey City, New Jersey, to win recognition as world light heavyweight champion, a title he defended until losing it to Battling Sicky in 1922. Over his pro tenure from 1908 to 1926, he amassed a record of 89 wins, 15 losses, 6 draws, 57 knockouts, total of 110 fights in his career. Okay, so let's go to the fight now. Let's look at the fight. Jack Dempsey, Georges Carpenter. 1921, July 2nd, 1921. I don't know why I was on the 4th, because Texaco would always have most of his big fights on July 4th. Yeah, he had Joe Gans and Batley Nelson on July 4th. That was the longest title fight, 42 rounds. Yes, Joe Gans broke his arm in the 34th round and fought the last 8 rounds with a broken arm and still won the fight. Mm-hmm. He was beating the man so bad, the man just hit him low on purpose because he saw a knockout coming. And the man with one arm was beating him like that. Wow. Think if he would have had both of them. Okay, let's get to the fight now. Opening rounds and tactical exchanges. In the first round, both fighters adopted cautious approaches, with Carpenter leveraging his superior speed and footwork to circle the ring and fire out jabs from range, while Dempsey advanced steadily, seeking to close distance for his power punches. Carpenter's tactical emphasis on mobility allowed him to avoid early traps, landing occasional lead right hands that tested Dempsey's chin, though the champion absorbed them without visible distress and responded with probing hooks to the body. Dempsey's strategy focused on cutting off the ring using feints to draw Carpenter into exchanges, whereas heavier weight, 188 pounds to Carpenter's 172, could impose pressure, setting the tone for contrast between the Frenchman's boxing precision and the American's aggressive stalking. So it started like everybody thought. They thought Dempsey was going to try to cut the ring off, close the distance, and Carpenter was going to try to stay outside, use his jab to keep Dempsey off of him and his footwork and stuff, and try to fight from distance. So that's how it started, just like everybody thought. Okay. Gotta get my displays straight here. Okay, there we go. I think that's the next one. Okay, so the second round marked a tactical shift as Carpenter abandoned prolonged circling the ring, stepping inside to unleash a straight right to Dempsey's jaw that floored the champion for a count of two, momentarily stunning him. And he listened, he roars from the crowd, favoring the underdog. Yeah, Carpenter dropped Dempsey. But like I said earlier, like Dempsey always went down early in fights. Just one of them things, but he always got up. And Al Booker says that Just Willer fight is awesome. They have a good quality version on YouTube. Yeah, I've seen it, Al Booker. It is. Yup. Surprisingly good quality too. From 1919. Yup. And man, he put so much damage on Just Willer. He got accused of having something in his hand wraps. The man's face was messed up so bad, but no, he didn't. Okay, so we're in the second round, and Carpenter all of a sudden changed his strategy. He ain't trying to fight at range no more. He just stepped to Dempsey, and guess what? Knocked him down. Knocked Dempsey down. However, Carpenter failed to capitalize aggressively on the knockdown. He retreated to maintain distance instead of pressing an advantage. A decision later attributed to a broken right thumb sustained on the knockdown punch, which compromised his punching power and forced reliance on lefts thereafter. So if that really happened, just think if he wouldn't have broke that thumb, could he have got Dempsey out of there? But if that happened, he lost his right hand at that point after knocking Dempsey down. Now Dempsey recovered swiftly, taking off the knockdown and resuming his forward pressure with body shots, exposing Carpenter's vulnerability in close quarters, where the light heavyweight's frame struggled against sustained infighting. That's why he was trying to keep the distance. But if he hadn't broken that thumb, he might have stayed up in the pocket. Who knows? By the third round, Dempsey's tactical dominance emerged as he trapped Carpenter against the ropes, delivering combinations to the head and midsection that opened cuts above Carpenter's eyes and sapped his mobility. Carpenter's attempts to revert to long-range boxing faltered under fatigue and injury, with his weakened right hand limiting counterpunching effectiveness, allowing Dempsey to dictate pace through relentless advances and clinch work to neutralize escapes. This phase highlighted the causal edge of Dempsey's raw power and conditioning over Carpenter's fitness, as the challenger's early success evaporated against the champion's ability to adapt and overwhelm in sustained exchanges. So yeah, Carpenter was already a huge underdog and then broke his thumb. So wow, he was really at a disadvantage then. So the climactic moments and knockout that ended it. In the third round, Dempsey intensified his assault with repeated hooks to Carpenter's body, exploiting the Frenchman's lighter frame and causing visible distress as the challenger's guard dropped under the punishment. These blows, delivered with Dempsey's superior punching power, stemming from the 188-pound frame against Carpenter's 172 pounds, sapped the challenger's stamina, setting the stage for the finish, despite Carpenter's earlier success in landing a staggering right hand in round 2 that had dropped Dempsey. Yep. Mike Grimm in the building. What's up, Mike Grimm? Jack Dempsey and Georges Carpenter. Fight of the day, 1921. First $1 million gate. Okay, salute Mike. Happy Friday. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, Dempsey get ready to finish him off now. Finish him off early, 4th round. The climactic 4th round began with Dempsey fading a light left hand to Carpenter's face, drawing a sway that exposed the jaw. Dempsey then unleashed a devastating right hand to the side of the head, dropping the challenger unconscious to the canvas at approximately 1 minute 24 seconds of the 4th round. Referee Harry Eddy counted to 10 without interruption. He could have went to like 50. As Carpenter didn't move, remained out cold. His thumb fractured from an earlier clash against Dempsey's jaw, but irrelevant to the decisive headshot that ended the fight. Dempsey displayed uncharacteristic restraint amid prior accusations of rough tactics, knelt to resist the fallen fighter to his feet once the verdict was clear, a gesture noted by ringside observers as contrasting his aggressive style. Yep. Jack helped him up. Might as well, you're the one that put him down there. Help the man up once he regained consciousness. But yeah, just think if Carpenter wouldn't have broke that thumb on his right hand in that first round, because he timed Dempsey and was circling and waited and jumped in there, stepped to Dempsey and dropped him, right? But he broke his hand on that shot. So did he, now he one-handed, already at a huge disadvantage in weight and everything. And he only got one hand now, so Dempsey got him out of there. Yep, there's your winner, Jack Dempsey, the fight of the day. First $1 million gate, Jack Dempsey and Georges Carpenter from France. The Boxing Menu podcast in the building. What's up? How are you today? We're going to talk about Gunboat Smith. We did him last year, but I found another, but we didn't do him justice last year. This one is much better today on him. I found a new site. It's started by Elon Musk himself. Yep. Got some good stuff on it though, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got everything. So yeah, I found Gunboat on there. This is pretty good. But yeah, Gunboat today, the life and career of Gunboat Smith. We'll salute the Boxing Menu podcast. Ed Gunboat Smith, that is. Yeah, got his nickname in the Navy. Mm-hmm. He started fighting there and he was rough. And his mates, of course, started calling him Gunboat. He served on a gunboat, you know? Yeah. Old Gunboat. Mm-hmm. He had a hell of a resume. There's Gunboat on the ship. A young gunboat. Okay, so let's get started. Life and career of Ed Gunboat Smith. Appreciate you. Boxing Menu podcast. Smash that like button. Okay. Boxing Menu podcast got a great channel himself. Mm-hmm. Called Spikes and stuff. Yeah. That's one tonight. Michael Collins in action tonight from Northern Ireland. Yep. And then I guess the big one of the weekend is probably Adamas and Ammo. This is probably it for Ammo after this, I would think. All the time, it's flew into Ammo, wherever Ammo's from, and waiting for him to get back from the fight to let him know that's it, Ammo. while the time gets us all. Some later than others. He didn't get B-Hop till he was up in his 50s. Man was 49 years old winning championships. Mm-hmm. But he got him eventually. Yeah. But who knows? Gunboat to get in there and knock Adamas out. I'll scratch him talking. Yeah. Wouldn't it be something? I mean, Ammo. I said Ammo get in there and knock Adamas out. Cold. And then we got Keith and Sebastian. Is that next weekend? I was just looking at it. Yeah, I think that's next weekend. Keith Thurman and Sebastian Pandora. Yeah, so we got some good action coming up. Then we got Monster and Nakatani. It's like May 2nd, early in the month, like the first weekend. And that same month is Benavidez and Verdo. That will be a huge win. Whoever wins that fight will be a huge win for the winner. Yes, it will. Whoever comes out of that with their hand raised, that'll be big for him. Ferro got and Defiant Army kind of got me toward Zerto now. But Ed Gunboat Smith, let's talk about Gunboat. That's Gunboat on the left. I think that was just some kind of sparring or something. I don't think that was an actual fight. Okay. Life and career of Ed Gunboat Smith now. Edward Gunboat Smith. He was an American heavyweight boxer of Irish descent who competed professionally from 1909 to 1921. He had a 12-year career. He was born Edward J. Smythe in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He earned his nickname while serving in the United States Navy due to his toughness in the boxing ring. As noted by sailors aboard the USS Pennsylvania, ship Gunboat was on. Smith's career record stood at 52 wins with 28 losses and 10 draws, 38 knockouts, showcasing his punching power and a 73% knockout rate among victories. Yep, let me see something. He had 80 fights, right? 52 and 28, 80 total fights over his career. I gotta check that knockout rate because I don't like to be wrong. He had 38 knockouts. I don't know if it was that quite as high as 70 something. Oh yeah, let me just keep on going. That's right, 73%. 73% for Gunboat. Okay. Now he was a durable journeyman contender. He won the white heavyweight championship of the world by defeating Arthur Pelkey in January 1914, only to lose it to, guess who? Georges Carpenter, 6 months later, from the fight of the day, Georges. Gunboat faced an elite roster of opponents, including Hall of Famers Jack Dempsey, Harry Gregg, Sam Langford, Jess Willett, and Georges Carpenter. And others. He had a great weatherman. Everybody had great weathermates back then. But a Gunboat often served as a tough test for emerging champions. The notable fights highlighted his resilience, though he never captured a major world title amid the era's racial barriers. Smith transitioned to refereeing boxing matches and appeared in several films during the 1920s. Yeah, that was racial barriers didn't hurt him, but he never got a major title. He did have the white heavyweight championship. You know, they said, y'all got to come when we're going to start a white heavyweight championship. Okay? And Gunboat had it. Okay, so early life and military service. Let's talk about that. His early life and military services. Birth and upbringing for Gunboat. Edward Gunboat Smith, again, was born Edward J. Smythe on February 17, 1887 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As an Irish American, he emerged from the city's immigrant working class roots, where many families of similar heritage navigated economic hardship in industrial urban settings. Details on Smith's parents remain scarce in historical records, with no verified account of their identities or occupations. Yeah, way back in the 1800s, nobody knows too much about his parents. He spent much of his formative years in orphanages, a common plight for children of deceased or impoverished guardians in late 19th and early 20th century America. It was said that his parents died when he was very young. So, he grew up in orphanages and stuff. Not too much known about Gunboat's parents. Now, Gunboat's youth involved grueling manual labor, including farm work and railroad tasks, which honed his physical resilience amid the era's typical immigrant labor demands. These experiences reflected the broader socioeconomic challenges faced by Philadelphia's Irish American communities at the time, often confined to low-wage, physically taxing jobs. Now, such early toil, devoid of formal education or privilege, underscored his self-reliant origins before transitioning to structured pursuit. Okay, let's talk about his Navy service now. United States Navy service for Gunboat. And there is a young Gunboat right there, see? Navy service. Oh, I don't know why I went back. Yeah, there he is. On board the ship. Playing around on that gun. He better hope that gun don't go off. His hand gonna go out there with the charge that come out of it. He might go with it too. Mm-hmm. I was in the Air Force, man. You get it written up. Article 15 or something, playing around with the weapons like that and stuff, man. It's frowned on that. But Terrell, what's up, Cameron? In the building, salute. Yeah, we doing our little profile today, Cameron. Gunboat Smith today, that's him. He was a Navy man. That's how he got his nickname. He started fighting in the Navy and he was so tough. His shipmates started calling him Gunboat. Yeah. Al Booker told me that story a while back. Well, Al Booker told me he got his nickname in the Navy. And then I looked at it, yeah. That's his shipmates gave it to him. But that's him. We give and talk about his Navy. But happy Friday, Cameron. Okay. Now, Gunboat enlisted in the United States Navy around 1905 at the age of 18, serving during the pre-World War I era, when the fleet was expanding its Pacific presence. Yeah, he was in there leading up to World War I. His naval duties involved shipboard life that demanded physical resilience, contributing to the development of his robust physique and endurance, qualities later evident in his combative boxing career. Mm-hmm. During his Navy service, Smith began competitive boxing within the Navy, culminating in his victory for the Pacific Fleet Heavyweight Championship in 1909. Pacific Fleet Heavyweight Champion, Gunboat, yeah. This success highlighted his aggressive fighting style, which earned him the nickname Gunboat from fellow sailors, reflecting his reputation for relentless and forceful confrontations aboard ship rather than any specific vessel assignment. The Gunboat didn't take no stuff neither. In the ring or out the ring. Okay, you cross Gunboat, you better be ready to throw hands. Okay, whether you was in the ring or out anywhere. Cross Gunboat, had them hands ready. His Gunboat was going to be ready. Now, such experiences in the naval environment, including routine physical demands and inter-service fights, forced the toughness that underpinned his subsequent pro endeavors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, started the toughness in the Navy. Gunboat did. Okay. I got to keep refreshing the chat to see if anybody has been doing that all week. It won't change. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So, Gunboat was discharged from the Navy in 1909, coinciding with the start of his pro boxing career that same year. Okay. And this transition marked the end of his military obligation, allowing him to channel the durability honed through naval service into civilian pursuit, mainly the boxing ring. Okay. So now let's look at his boxing career. Let's look at Gunboat's boxing career. Okay, his pro debut and early developments in his career. Pro debut and early development. It was hard to find pictures for Gunboat too, way back then. Wow. Wait. But that's him. Yeah. Now, Gunboat turned pro on June 3rd, 1909. Same year, he was separated from the Navy, entering the heavyweight division after winning the Pacific Fleet heavyweight title during his naval service earlier that very year. His debut fight and initial fights were held primarily in the United States against regional journeyman opponents, establishing him as a durable fighter capable of competing despite often facing heavier opponents. Normally the smaller man in his fights too. So in his early career, Gunboat developed an aggressive, pressure-oriented style marked by relentless forward movement and a high tolerance for punishment, which enabled him to wear down larger foes through volume punching and endurance rather than one-punch power. See, I told you your Gunboat was always ready to fight, always the smaller man, but here and there coming forward with pressure, right? And wearing down bigger opponents on a regular basis. Gunboat. This approach yielded consistent results in shorter fights, including knockouts and TKOs against mid-level heavyweights, though he occasionally settled for draws and grueling encounters that tested his chin. He had a great chin too. He was in there against some big names back then. Gunboat was. Yes, he was. Okay. By the end of 1912, Gunboat had built a record of 34 wins, 8 losses, and 5 draws against predominantly middling opponents, culminating in extended fights. This showcased his stamina, such as a 20-round decision win late that year. Entering 1913, these performances positioned him as an emerging contender, with wins in decisions and stoppages over regional heavyweight, further solidified his reputation for toughness in the heavyweight division. Okay. Now, this is some of his peak achievements, some of his biggest achievements and notable opponents in his career, as he fought some big names. Sam Langford, Jack Dempsey, Harry Greb, I think he fought Harry Wills, Georges Carpenter. Yeah. Let's talk about some of his biggest achievements and some notable opponents that Gunboat faced. Now, Gunboat's peak competitive period occurred from 1914 to 1916, during which he secured the World White Heavyweight Championship on January 1st, 1914, by knocking out Arthur Pelkey in the 15th round at Carforth Arena in Daly City, California. Okay? Now, this win, achieved by right uppercut after dominating the entire fight, positioned Gunboat as a leading Great White Hope contender, right? They put him in shot for a crown against, the crown was held by Jack Johnson at that time, okay? First black heavyweight champion. He defended the white heavyweight title later that year, but he lost it to Georges Carpenter on July 16, 1914, at Olympia Stadium in London by unanimous decision after 20 rounds. Carpenter outboxing him through superior speed and combination punching. Yet he never did fight Jack Johnson. I don't know what happened, but he had got some pretty good wins that put him in position to get a title shot against Johnson, but he never got it. The Drunk Irishman. What's up, Drunk Irishman? I've seen Drunk Irishman in a minute. Good to see you back, Drunk Irishman. Salute. One of my big supporters right there. Appreciate you, Drunk Irishman. Happy Friday. Is it Friday in Ireland too? I don't know. I guess so. Ireland ain't that far away. Yeah. But happy Friday. So happy Friday, Drunk Irishman. Good to see you today, my friend. We talked about Gunboat Smith, Drunk Irishman. All right. Okay, so yeah, Gunboat. He had some nice wins that put him in position for a shot at Jack Johnson, who was a champion, but he never got that shot. You know, politics was going on way back then too, because Jack Johnson probably fought a bigger name because Gunboat against Jack Johnson, or somebody like Jess Willard against Jack Johnson, or somebody was worth more money. So that kind of stuff didn't just start today, right? Yes, the Gunboat got bypassed. That could have been his heavyweight champion. He never got a main title. That could have been it right there. But he got Jack Johnson up out of it. I doubt it, but who knows? Okay, so throughout this era, Gunboat demonstrated resilience against elite opposition, including a split decision against Hall of Famer Sam Langford. A 12-round decision win on September 17, 1913 in Boston, where he outlasted Langford's pressure despite absorbing heavy body shots. Yeah, he not only fought Sam Langford, he beat him in 1913. And then the next year in the rematch, he lost to Langford, October 14th, 1914, back in Boston again. So he split 2 fights with the great legendary Sam Langford. Gunboat. Told you this one was better than the one I did last year. This profile here, yeah. So earlier in 1913, he defeated future world heavyweight champion Jess Willard over 20 rounds on May 20th at Crawford's Arena in San Francisco, landing effective counters despite Willard's size advantage. Jess Willard was like 6'6", way over 250. He had Gunboat by almost 100 pounds, right? He had Jack Dempsey by 60. And Gunboat beat Jess Willard. Yep. No wonder Jack Dempsey wouldn't fight him. And guess who Jess Willard beat? Jess Willard beat Jack. No. I said, no wonder Jack Johnson wouldn't fight Gunboat, because guess who Jess Willard beat? Jack Johnson. And Gunboat beat Jess Willard, the old triangle theory. So Jack Johnson said, shit, that little guy beat that big man? Because Gunboat come in like 175 at heavyweight. So we done figured out why he didn't get his shot against Jack Johnson. And we didn't have cruiserweight then, so once you passed 175, you were in heavyweight territory then. Okay. Yeah, 6'6". Yep, Al Booker. Thank you, Al Booker. 6'6". Wow. And Gunboat beat him. So that was a big win for him right there, too, against Jess Willard. Running my mouth, I've lost where I was. Here we go. These fights, combined with consistent top 10 rankings in the heavyweight division per contemporary assessments, underscored Gunboat's role as a durable test for title aspirants, often extending fights to the limit against superior punchers. His 1914-1916 ledger of 13 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw reflected contention status without romanticized narratives of near victories. Okay, so running that. Later fights and retirement. Getting to the end of Gunboat's career now. Later fights and retirement for Ed Gunboat Smith, Navy veteran. He wasn't in World War I. He was in there just before World War I. They started to build up. They were starting to send the troops into the theater and everything, getting ready for the war. But Gunboat got out of it just before it started. The separation came up, and you can't blame it. World War is imminent. The separation date is there. Get the hell out. That's what I would have done. That's what Gunboat did. Plus, he was a talented boxer. He won the Pacific Fleet Heavyweight Championship. So he had eyes on turning pro when he got out. That's what he did. Same year he got out. Later fights and retirement for Gunboat. Now, Gunboat's ring performance began to wane after 1916, marked by a 4-round punch loss to the emerging heavyweight contender, Jack Dempsey, on October 2nd, 1917, at Recreation Park in San Francisco, California. He fought Jack Dempsey early in Jack Dempsey's career, but Jack still beat him. But yeah, he was kind of, by that time, Gunboat was kind of like a gatekeeper, right? And he fighting young fighters, and Jack Dempsey was one of them. And Gunboat knew what he was. He was just still in there getting the last few purses he could get. So he lost to Jack Dempsey you know, in 1917, young Jack Dempsey. This fight, contested over a short distance, highlighted Dempsey's aggressive style and foreshadows Gunboat's vulnerability against rising talent because Gunboat was getting older. Compounding close setbacks, Gunboat faced personal turmoil in November 1917 when he was arrested in San Francisco for striking his former manager, Jimmy Buckley, in the mouth during a dispute. The incident reported as Buckley running into Smith's fist. Why are you running to Gunboat Smith, man? I mean Gunboat's fist, man. Yeah, I told you, in the ring or out of the ring, Gunboat was on a short fuse. And it hit his manager in the mouth. Probably stealing money from Gunboat or something, but yeah. And he got arrested for it. Mm-hmm. Such out of the ring stresses occur at a man's mid-30s age and aware from prior encounters with elite opponents like Sam Langford and Frank Moran. So the decline accelerated in 1920 to 1921 with multiple knockout losses, including a 10th round stoppage by Al Roberts on March 9th, 1921 at Madison Square Garden in New York City. So your Father Time was telling Gunboat, but he went a few too far, started suffering knockout losses, right? Gunboat's final pro fight ended in a first round knockout defeat to Harry Wills on October 10th, 1921, the great Harry Wills, at a stadium in Havana, Cuba, lasting just 1 minute and 7 seconds. After Wills landed 6 clean blows, Harry Wills knocked him out in 1 minute and 7 seconds of the first round, and Gunboat got out of there. It was his last fight. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, Thomas Hill? We talked about Gunboat Smith today, T. Hill. And Mike Mazik. What's up, Mike Mazik? The super heavyweights coming in. Salute, Thomas Hill and Mike Mazik. Happy Friday, gentlemen. Yeah, we winding down on Gunboat. We're going to get some, talk about some other fighters that fought in that era. 1900 to like 1920. Little brief profiles on them. Got like 6 of them. And it might be link time by then, or I got something else. We still got those defensive specialists that we didn't get to. That I looked at yesterday, but then all of a sudden I couldn't find it. I don't know, but I seen it since last night. So, okay. But yeah, after Harry Wills, the writing was on the wall that Gunboat should have been out of the ring. But hey, people still willing to pay to come see you. So Gunboat kept getting in there. Then he got knocked out in 1 minute and 7, might as well say 1 minute, 7 seconds, by Harry Wills, 1 minute into the first round. And that was it for him. Gunboat retired from boxing following the Harry Wills fight, closing out a career active from June 3rd, 1909 to October 10th, 1921. Over 12 years, encompassing 90 documented fights against a roster of top-tier competition that inflicted a lot of physical damage on him. And, probably was more fights because records was still kind of sketchy. Gunboat started in 1909. And newspaper decisions that didn't count on your official record. Like BoxRec picked up all these old fighters' records now. And BoxRec don't put the newspaper decisions. Those were fights when Gunboat first started. They were still under the old London prize ring rules and wasn't no round limit. And then it would end when one fighter couldn't get up. And after so many, like 50, 60, 70 rounds, after both fighters kept getting up, they both just said, that's it, and agreed to end it. And then newspaper writers at ringside would print a winner in the paper the next day. Those are called newspaper decisions. So Gunboat had some of them, but that's not in his official tally. So officially at 90 fights, but I think he probably had many more than that. But when he retired at 34 years old, the empirical toll of repeated high-level engagement rather than isolated incidents aligned with observable patterns of diminished durability in veteran heavyweights of the era. Let's look at his career stats and his record and stuff now. Career stats and record for Gunboat Smith. Okay. Now, Gunboat Smith's professional boxing record is documented by BoxRec. It wasn't no BoxRec then, but BoxRec did go back and pick up all these old, when they started their database, they included all these old fighters too. And BoxRec got Gunboat at 52 wins, 28 losses, 10 draws, and 38 knockouts. That's 90, right? Altogether. Spanning 1909 to 1921. A total of 581 rounds fought. But he's got more than that because of those newspaper decisions and stuff. He fought in that era. This yields a knockout percentage of 73% among his wins. So the discrepancies in historical records arise from the pre-regulatory era's reliance on newspaper decisions, what I was just talking about, for outcomes in jurisdictions without official scoring, where many heavyweight fights ended without formal verdicts. Now, BoxRec prioritizes verifiable official results, okay, treating newspaper decisions separately, and they don't include them in the fight totals. Newspaper decisions are not included. So 90 officially on BoxRec, but probably closer to like 200, I would say. So expanded tallies incorporating newspaper decisions drawn from contemporaneous reports elevated his ledger to approximately 81 wins, 46 losses, and 13 draws, or variants such as 83 wins, 45 losses, 12 draws with 38 knockouts. Let's see how many that is. This is probably his real total in fight. It's probably around probably around 140, 150 fights with the newspaper decisions. But BoxRec got him at 90. Yeah. So he probably had like 50, 60 more fights than that. Okay. Now these inclusive figures better reflect the volume and competitiveness of his schedule in an unregulated heavyweight landscape, where fighters often engaged in frequent high-stakes fights against top contenders without modern oversight. Yeah, like when Gunboat started, wasn't no doctor required to be at ringside or anything. You know, none of that kind of stuff. You get cut, it's on you. Ain't no doctor stepping up there on the apron and look at it. If you want to continue, go ahead. You know, you think your cut is too bad, then give up if you want to lose. Right? But it's on you. That was before the Queensberry rules took over the sport. So a key metric of Gunboat's caliber lies in his opposition. Now, listen to this. He faced 12 International Boxing Hall of Fame inductees for a total of 23 times, including multiple fights against figures like Jack Dempsey and Harry Grant, highlighting endurance against elite heavyweights over raw win totals. Yeah. 12 Hall of Fame was a total of 23 times. He fought Jack Dempsey and Harry Grant more than once. Remember, he fought Jack Dempsey the first time, and Jack Dempsey was a prospect that's coming in. But he fought him again later too, and Harry Grant a couple of times. 12 Hall of Fame was a total of 23 times. Gunboat. Let's talk about his post-boxing career now. Post-boxing. Yeah, it was hard. I told you it's hard to find pictures of way back then, man. Especially a lower name like Gunboat. Like Jack Dempsey, Harry Grant, you can find good, beautiful quality pictures of them. But Gunboat is hard, man. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The entertainment and acting roles. He went into acting. His post-boxing, Gunboat was an actor. Following his boxing career, Gunboat transitioned into acting in the mid-1920s, securing minor roles in solid films that leveraged his imposing physique and reputation as a heavyweight fighter. These appearances were typically uncredited or bit parts, portraying rugged figures like sailors, policemen, or military personnel, reflecting typecasting based on his athletic background. Gunboat's film work remained a peripheral pursuit amid other post-boxing activities, with no evidence of starring roles or sustained pro-acting success. Yeah, he had small roles. He wasn't like a Earl Flynn or somebody like that from back in the time. Yeah. Nah. You ain't gonna have him and Marilyn Monroe or somebody together. Marilyn was later anyway, but here's some of his roles he played in. He played in a movie called Lovers in Quarantine, 1925. He had a minor role in that one. He played in a movie called The Lucky Devil, 1925. He played a sailor in that one, which he actually was in life, real life at one time. Another movie said, Say It Again, 1926. He played a supporting role as a soldier in a World War I movie. Movie based on World War I, he played the role as a soldier. Another one called The City, Gone Wild, 1927. Gunboat played a policeman. He played in a movie called Wings in 1927. He played another as a military role. And guess what this film was? This was the first movie to ever win an Academy Award for Best Picture. And Gunboat was in it. That's when they started giving out the awards. First movie called Wings was first movie to ever win an Academy Award, and our boy Gunboat was in it. Okay? Gunboat was in that bad boy for Best Picture. First ever movie to win Best Picture. Midnight Rose, and that was in 1927. I guess they started the Academy Awards for the Academy Award in 1927. But Gunboat was in the first one that won Best Picture. Okay, he played in Midnight Rose, 1928. He played Casey, a mob figure, I believe. Yeah. But by the late 1920s, Gunboat's acting career ceased, marking the end of his brief divergence in entertainment without notable critical or commercial impact. But he was in the first movie that won the Academy Award. That's his story. Right? So then he became, after his acting career, he became a referee. Yeah, he refereed a big fight too. That controversial one, we talked about it, between Jack Sharkey and Max Schmeling. The only heavyweight title that went to end on a foul. Guess who refereed that fight? Gunboat. Only heavyweight title to change hands on a foul in history was refereed by Gunboat himself. The one and only, Gunboat Smith. Let's talk about refereeing and other professional activities. It's a fight right there. See Gunboat back there? There's Sharkey on the right, Max Schmeling on the left, and see Gunboat? That's him. That's our Gunboat. Refereeing the fight. Historic fight. Only time the heavyweight title changed hands on a foul. Our own Gunboat refereed it. Let's talk about it. Refereeing and other pro activities for Gunboat. Now, following his retirement from active boxing in 1921, Gunboat pursued a career as a boxing referee, applying his first-hand knowledge of the sport gained from facing 12 future or former world champions during his competitive years. He officiated fights through the 1930s, contributing to the enforcement of rules in an era when boxing governance was transitioning under bodies like the New York State Athletic Commission, okay, with standardized procedures amid growing professionalization. Now, one documented fight under Gunboat's refereeing was the June 21st of 1932. 1932 heavyweight clash between Jack Sharkey and Max Schmeling at Madison Square Garden, where a split decision. Well, that was the first one with change on the crowd. This one was a split decision favoring Schmeling, based on effective aggression and ring generalship. Sparked debate for the line with observable punch output and control, as Gunboat later defended amid public outcry. Because Gunboat had to vote as a judge too in that one. Yeah, the one that ended on a foul, that wasn't Gunboat. Well, Gunboat did Schmeling Sharkey too. But it still was very controversial. And Gunboat scored one of those cards. Yeah, they said they cheated Schmeling. Yeah, just to get the title back out of the Germans' hands. Because they beat Sharkey in the first fight on a foul. And so the second fight, they gave it to Smelly with the distance. But one judge gave it to Smelly. That might have been Gunboat. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Now, Gunboat also extended his oversight to related combat sports, refereeing pro wrestling contests, such as the 1935 fight at New York's Nicholas Arena, featuring Hans Smith, demonstrating his versatility in adjudicating physical competitions. His role underscored the value of veteran fighters in maintaining fight integrity without reliance on modern technologies like instant replay, which were absent at the time. Parallel to refereeing, Gunboat entered finance in the mid-1920s, securing work as a Wall Street runner, a position involving rapid message delivery and errand running amid the era's manual trading floors. Starting around February 1925 as a utility man, adapting his physical endurance from the ring to the market's pace. He was a runner on Wall Street. By 1928, he had advanced to head runner at a brokerage firm where he mentored newcomers like Johnny Ramos, occasionally providing tactical advice drawn from his boxing background while wearing protective denim smocks to safeguard attire during daily operations. This shift reflected broader economic opportunities for ex-athletes in New York's financial district during the Roaring '20s, prior to the 1929 crash, though Gunboat sustained involvement without reported disruptions tied to market volatility. Okay, personal life and legacy. We're going to land the plane now. Personal life and legacy of Gunboat Smith. Personal life and legacy. Key personal events and legal matters. Because remember, he got locked up for smacking, where he punched his manager in the face. Probably was stealing from Gunboat. But they say Gunboat didn't punch him. The manager ran into his fist, ran into Gunboat's fist. Gunboat didn't punch that man. That man's face ran into Gunboat's fist. Edward Gunboat Smith, born Edward John Smites on February 17, 1887, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to Irish-American parents, endured a challenging early life marked by institutionalization and manual labor. Orphan, young. His parents died young. He grew up in orphanages. He spent significant portions of his youth in orphanages before working on farms and railroads to support himself. And experiences that cultivated a reputation for toughness, reflective of his era's working class Irish immigrant community. These formative hardships preceded his enlistment in the United States Navy at age 18, shaping a resilient character unyielding to adversity, but without documented family ties beyond his origins. Not too much is known about his parents. They died, I don't know if it was an accident or what, they died young. You know, people died young back then because you could die from the common cold. They didn't have aspirin and stuff like that back then, right? So yeah, like they don't have a cure for cancer. They ain't even have a cure for the common cold, you know? Mm-hmm. So his parents died young for whatever reason. So in November 1917, amid a pro-slump, Gunboat faced legal repercussions for assaulting his manager, Jimmy Buckley, leading to his arrest in New York City. Now, tried in Brooklyn's Court of Special Sessions, he was convicted of the assault, stemming from a dispute over management and financing. Told you, typical of the rough interpersonal dynamics in early 20th century boxing. I knew it was around money. Yeah, he was stealing from Gunboat. The incident, while highlighting Gunboat's volatile temperament, forced in naval and pugilistic environments, resulted in no enduring career impediment, as he resumed fights shortly thereafter, without further publicized legal entanglement. So nothing really came out of it. No additional arrests or civil matters appear in records, underscoring a personal history dominated by self-reliant survival rather than systemic vice or scandal. Okay. And finally, Gunboat's death and posthumous recognition. Okay. Gunboat's death and posthumous recognition for Edward Gunboat Smith. Today, we're looking at Gunboat Smith, life and career. There's Gunboat. Death and posthumous recognition for the Gunboat. Edward Gunboat Smith died on August 6, 1974, in Leesburg, Florida, at the age of 87. Wow, 74. Yeah, I was born when Gunboat died, man. Wow, because he was born in the 1880 something. Yeah, it's August 6, 1974. Leesburg, Florida. 87 years old. So he lived a nice long life. The Gunboat had retired from boxing refereeing and other pursuits in his later years, living out his final days in relative obscurity after a career marked by physical toll. Gunboat received limited formal posthumous honors, reflecting the emphasis in boxing historiography on championship victories over journeyman resilience. He was inducted into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame in 2014 as part of his class recognizing historical figures from the state. They're from Pennsylvania, from Philly, where he began his career in Philly. He has not been enshrined in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, likely due to his record of 62 wins, including 28 knockouts, 50 losses, and 14 draws, which prioritizes outcomes over the empirical endurance demonstrated against the lead opponent, such as being one of the few heavyweights to go to full 15 rounds with Jack Dempsey, prior to Dempsey's world title win. Yeah, Gunboat, he retired in 1921, so if he ain't in there all this time, it's a safe bet Gunboat won't be getting in the National Boxing Hall of Fame, okay? Nah, Gunboat won't be getting in. This durability evidenced by facing 12 Hall of Famers, a combined 23 times, underscores a causal distinction in boxing's meritocracy. Testing top-tier fighters' limits contributes substantively to the sport's competitive record, even absent personal triumphs. Gunboat should be in the Hall of Fame just on his resume, man. Just on his resume. Gunboat's legacy persists through occasional archival mentions and oral history, including a 1970 interview conducted by journalist Peter Heller with a book, In This Corner, 40 World Champions Tell Their Story, where he reflected on his era's fights despite not holding a title. We keep the Gunboat name alive today. Such accounts highlight his factual role in validating the prowess of champions like Dempsey and Harry Wills, prioritizing verifiable opposition quality over narrative embellishment. And there you have it, the life and career of Edward Gunboat Smith. And man, they should go ahead and put Gunboat in the Hall of Fame just on his resume alone. Put Gunboat in there, man. Yeah. But Edward Gunboat Smith. Yeah. We did one last year, but that one was way better than the one we did last year, I thought. Okay. So, B21. Yeah, we got some other fighters from that era too that boxed. Like we got Batley Nelson, James J. Jeffries, Barbados, Joe Walcott, Sam McVeigh, Joe Jeanette, Tommy Burns, Stanley Ketchum, and the legendary Philadelphia Jack O'Brien. Let's talk about a couple of them before we get the link in there. We're going to talk about Batley Nelson first. He fought in the longest title fight ever, 42 rounds against Joe Gans. Not the longest fight ever, but the longest title fight for a major title, 42 rounds against him. of Baltimore, Maryland. Yep, Batley. I believe that's Batley. Yeah, that's Batley right there. I'm about to find pictures of these old guys. Let's talk about Batley real quick. Technique, what's up, Technique? You know, Technique was in here. Technique was says, imagine going that long. That's central. It was crazy back then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, he'll never get it now though. Um, um, Gunboat. I think they should go ahead and put Gunboat in there, man. Just off resume. Gunboat for Jack Dempsey, Harry Wills, Harry Grab, beat Sam Langford. He fought Jess Willard. He fought George S. Carpenter. All the big names back then at heavyweight. Gunboat was a small heavyweight, 175. But you know, we didn't have cruiserweight, so once you got past 175, you was at heavyweight back in them days. And Jess Willard was like 6'6", 250, 260. Here's Gunboat. I don't know how tall he was. He was like 175. And he beat him. And Gunboat was always smaller than his opponents, but he fought coming forward. He wasn't going in there trying to move around and maintain distance. On Gunboat coming at you. Yeah. He beat Jess Willard. Gunboat Smith. Yeah. Y'all enjoyed that today. The great Gunboat. We're gonna have to get something started to get Gunboat in the National Boxing Hall of Fame. Technique said he would like to have grown up in the 15 round every year. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them Technique coming up. 15 rounds, yeah. Yeah, them guys like 13, 14, 15 was the championship rounds. Mm-hmm. And they had no problem doing it. Because, I mean, you know, you got to. So, hey, they had no problem going 15 back then. Larry Holmes and Ken Norton was the fight they had to watch. That was a barn burner. 13, 14, 15. The fight was still in the balance, and they just Holmes probably won it like in the last 30 seconds of the 15th round. That's when he took over the fight. Yep. But they was both still. They wasn't like tired out or gassed out or nothing. They were still both like they could have fought another couple of rounds after that. And then imagine the fighters going 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 rounds back. That's what they used to do. That's crazy. Keep coming out there. A round could last 15, 20 minutes if nobody went down, you know? Yeah, the round ended when somebody went down. And the fight ended when somebody didn't get back up. So, wow. There was no limit on the round. At one point, like in the 1800s, you could grab the man and throw him down. You get tired, just throw your opponent to charge him, bum rush him, knock him down so you get that break. Then when they first started the count, they started giving people 30 seconds on the mat. When you get knocked down, you had 30 seconds to get up. And if everybody recovered, I guess it was hard to get knocked up. You could lay down there and take a nap, call home, everything while you was down on the mat. Man, 30 seconds. Wow. That's something. How are you gonna get a knockout? You knock the man down, you're gonna give him 30 seconds to get up. Yeah, but then they changed it to 10, which is much better. You don't need no 30 seconds. Nah. I'll go ahead and put the link in. It's almost 3:30. I had something on the Greek defensive fighters. Probably wouldn't finish it. We can do it another day. It was like 25 of them. And some other fighters in this era, but we got to get some big time. We've been getting it the last few days. So let's do that. Everybody's welcome. Okay, and there it is. Meanwhile, I can start talking about some of these other legends that fought back around Gunboat's era. With the fight of the day back from around that era, Jack Dempsey, George's Carpenter. Everything was like 1900 to 1920 today. Yeah. Next week, we're going to have a fighter from the 20s and a fight of the day from the 20s for the fight of the day. Yeah, profile fight of the day. Let's talk about Battling Nelson, though. He was in the longest title fight in history against Joe Gans. Battling in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. They got a statue out there in Goldfield, Nevada, where this fight between Gans and Nelson took place. See it from the highway. I've never seen it, but I read that. Yeah. Tex Ricard. It was Tex Ricard's first big fight he promoted. That one. Yeah, that's Battling Nelson right there. Now, Oscar Matthew Battling Nelson. Okay. He was a Danish-American fighter, renowned for his extraordinary toughness and endurance as a lightweight champion. He was known as the Durable Dane. He twice held the World Lightweight Championship, first from 1905 to 1906, and then from 1908 to 1910, during an era of intense, often brutal fights that highlighted his relentless style and ability to absorb punishment. With a pro career spanning from 1896 to 1917, Nelson competed in over 130 fights, including legendary wars against Hall of Famers like Joe Gans and Ad Wolgast, earning induction into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1992. Now if they say 130 fights, that means he had over 200 with the newspaper decisions. Yeah, because BoxRec only documented. BoxRec did go back and pick up those old guys' records when they came into existence, but they don't put newspaper decisions. So Batley had 130 fights on BoxRec, but probably over 200. Really, realistically. He was born Oscar Matthew Nelson in Copenhagen, Denmark. Nelson emigrated to the United States as a young child with his family and settled in Chicago, Illinois, where he grew up in modest circumstances. He began boxing as a pro at the age of 14 in 1896, making his debut by knocking out an opponent in the first round during a traveling circus challenge, and quickly built a reputation for his aggressive, no-holds-barred approach in the ring. By the early 1900s, Nelson had risen through the ranks with key wins over fighters like Martin Cannoli, Eddie Hanlon, and young Corbett II, culminating in a 20-round decision loss to Jimmy Britt for the vacant lightweight title in 1904, followed by an 18th round knockout win over Britt in the rematch in 1905. And that's when he got his first lightweight title in the rematch. Failed in the first fight, but he got him in the second and won the title. First title. Nelson's career peaked with his epic rivalry against Joe Gans, featuring a controversial 42-round disqualification loss in 1906 due to fouling, and a triumphant 17th round knockout win on July 4th, 1908 in Coleman, California, to claim the undisputed lightweight crown. He made several successful defenses before losing the title to Ad Wolgast in a grueling 40-round fight in 1910, where his eyes swelled shut, forcing the stoppage. Despite attempts to regain the championship, including the 1913 rematch loss against Wolgast, Nelson continued fighting until 1917. 59 wins, 19 losses, 19 draws, 38 knockouts. And then he had 33 no decisions too. So that's probably like 160 something fights total. Wasn't no contest. In his later years, plagued by financial troubles after squandering his boxing earnings, Nelson worked odd jobs, including at the Chicago Post Office, before dying in poverty at age 71. That's not odd. That's a pretty good job at the post office. I know nowadays at the post office, they pay pretty good. It ain't no odd job. Okay. James J. Jeffrey. We're talking about some guys that fought back like between 1900 and 1920. James J. Jeffrey. It's James J. Tell they fought by them by the way they hold their hands and smack them by the way they hold their hands. I don't know why they see. Look at Battling Nelson. James J. There's the next one, Barbados Joe Walcott. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about James J. Jeffries now. He was a great champion. 1900s. 1900, 1910 was his heyday. Yeah. James J. Jeffries, he retired. And then after being retired for 6 years, they coached him out of retirement to try to get the title from Jack Johnson. And first, James J. was like, no, I'm happy. I made a lot of money in the sport and I got my farm. But they threw an offer on the table he couldn't refuse, so he came back. And he had to lose 100 pounds to get in boxing shape. And of course, he lost, 6 years out, you got to drop 100 pounds just to get in shape for the fight. So you can stay fit. He wasn't walking around in optimal fighting condition. Right. So, yeah. But they gave him an offer. He still got his money, though. And he was like, win, lose, or draw. I'll take that payday. Mm-hmm. It's a very substantial amount of money for that time frame, 19. I think it was 1910 when that happened. Yeah. But James J. Jeffries, he was an American known for his reign as the world heavyweight champion from 1899 to 1905. He had a 6-year reign, during which he remained undefeated in title defense, right? And he also known for his high-profile 1910 comeback fight against Jack Johnson. That became a landmark event in boxing and American race relations. That's what I was just talking about. He was nicknamed the Boilermaker for his early work in that trade. Jeffries combined exceptional strength, stamina, and a distinctive crouching style to dominate the heavyweight division in the early 20th century. And he is in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He went in the inaugural year 1990 in that old timers category. Very deservedly so. James J. Jeffries is in there. Mm-hmm. Born on April 15th, 1875 in Ohio, Jeffries moved to California with his family as a child and excelled in boxing, wrestling, and track. Yeah, he ran track too, while working as a boilermaker and in meatpacking. He began his pro career around age 20. And after promising his parents to wait until 21 before boxing full-time, he quickly rose through the ranks with notable wins over fighters such as young Peter Jackson and Tom Sharkey. Told his parents he was going to wait till 21, but he went at 20. I guess after the parents seen their first payday, they would say, go ahead, son, keep fighting. You ain't got to wait till 21. On June 9th, 1899, he defeated Bob Fitzsimmons, a knockout in the 11th round, to capture the heavyweight title, employing a powerful left hook and straight left developed under trainer Tommy Ryan. former fighter himself, Tommy Ryan. As champion, James J. defended his title in grueling fights, including a 25-round decision over Tom Sharkey and a dramatic 23rd round knockout of former champion James J. Corbett after trailing for much of the fight. Yeah, that's a historic one there. Him and James J. Corbett. I think that was when that might have been when he won the title, 1899. Yeah, James J. Corbett beat him from pillar to post for 22 rounds, and James J. Jeffries came up with a dramatic knockout in the 23rd round. It was a battle of the James J's. So Jeffrey retired undefeated in 1905 after several more knockout defenses, but he came back in 1910 at age 35 and retired at 29, happy on his farm, made his money undefeated. And they talked him into coming back at age 35 under intense public pressure to challenge Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight champion, in a fight promoted as the Great White Hope fight. It was held on July 4th in Reno, Nevada. The fight ended in a 15th round knockout loss for Jeffries, marking his only pro defeat. And unfortunately, when you think of James J. Jeffries, that's the first fight you think of, the loss to Johnson, when he had a legendary great career in the National Boxing Hall of Fame career, undefeated champion. But he came back, and that's the fight people think of when he got beat badly by Johnson in 1910, when he should have just stayed retired. But he's still in the National Boxing Hall of Fame. After retiring permanently, he pursued business interests, including farming and acting early. He was farming before he came back. And he became an actor, like Gunboat. He wasn't as successful as Gunboat, though. Okay, I don't know. I made that part up. And he had financial difficulties later. He died on March 3rd, 1953, and remains regarded as one of the most formidable heavyweights of his era. But Gunboat was the one in the first film to ever win an Academy Award, not James J. Jeffries. Gunboat. Okay, let's get a couple more. We got Barbados Joe Walcott is next. I think he was the first black welterweight champion, something like that. This is Barbados Joe, around 1900, 1910-ish, around in that time frame. Okay, let's talk about Barbados Joe. That's who Jersey Joe Walcott named himself after. Yeah. He thought Jersey Joe Walcott thought Barbados Joe Walcott was the best thing since sliced bread was invented. He said Barbados Joe Walcott was better than Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, all of them. And named himself after. Because Barbados Joe Walcott real name was Joe Walcott. Jersey Joe Walcott real name was Arnold Cream. But yeah. I think they both for the International Boxing Hall of Fame though. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Barbados. About Barbados Joe Walcott. Now. Okay. Barbados Joe Walcott. Now, he was from British Guyana, okay, a Guyanese Barbadian pro boxer. And Barbados still competed from 1893 to 1911. And he's widely regarded as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in boxing history. He was known as the Barbados Demon for his ferocious punching power and durability. He migrated to Barbados as a child before immigrating to the United States in the early 1890s, where he established himself in Boston's boxing scene. Now, Barbados Joe held the World Welterweight Championship from 1901 to 1905. He was the first black world champion of the 20th century. Yeah, you got it before Joe Gans, because Joe Gans was the first American, right? Amassing a pro record of 92 wins, 25 losses, 58 knockouts, 24 draws, and 164 fights. But again, he had newspaper decisions, so he definitely had over 200. Often facing opponents from lightweight to heavyweight, despite standing just, get this, under 5 feet 2 inches tall. Imagine that. A man not even 5 feet 2 fighting at heavyweight. Damn. I can't imagine that. Walcott's early career was marked by a rapid ascent in the rough and tumble world of late 19th century American boxing. Debuting as a pro in 1893 with a second round knockout of Tom Powers in Boston. He was managed by promoter Tom O'Rourke. Yeah, Tom O'Rourke was a famous promoter back then. He had a lot of the big name fighters in that era. Barbados Joe was managed by him, Tom O'Rourke. Barbados Joe honed his skills in wrestling and boxing clubs, quickly gaining a reputation for his long reach, stamina, and ability to outpunch taller foes. Everybody had stamina back then because there wasn't no round limit. So you better have some stamina. You might have to fight 50 rounds in any given fight. So everybody had stamina back then. Or you couldn't be a pro boxer if you didn't have stamina in them days. Couldn't do it. Mm-mm. And he credited his success to the adage, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Wow. By 1895, he was a top welterweight contender, facing notable fighters like Kid Lavigne and Mysterious Billy Smith in competitive non-title fights. This showcased his versatility. Mm-hmm. His championship reign began in 1901 when he captured the welterweight title with a fifth-round TKO of defending champion Rube Ferns in Fort Erie, Ontario, Canada, a victory that solidified his dominance in the division. Walcott defended the belt successfully multiple times, including against Tommy West, but he lost it controversially in 1904 to the Dixie Kid by disqualification in the 20th round of a grueling fight marred by infighting. And guess what? He lost this fight controversially to the Dixie Kid. And guess who had money bet on the Dixie Kid? The referee of the fight. And the referee had a vote then, right? And they found out later that the referee had bet money on the Dixie Kid. He was doing all kinds of stuff for them, man. You know? Barbados Joe hit him in the jaw. Oh, that was low. You know? Dixie, he punched him in the face, and Dixie Kid fall down. Oh, that was a slip. Then they found out later the referee had money on Dixie Kid. He made sure he won too. Right? The referee made sure he got his money. Mm-hmm. But that was crazy. Yeah. But he continued competing at higher weights, achieving standout wins such as a 7th round stoppage of heavyweight Joe Chonsky in 1900 and a 15-round draw with rising star Sam Langford in 1904. Yeah, young Sam Langford. Barbados had a draw with, though a severe head injury from an accidental shooting later that year forced his gradual retirement by 1911. And they say Sam Langford really won that fight. That was Sam's only championship fight he was ever in, 1904 at welterweight, yeah. And they say he got robbed. Okay. Now, post-retirement, Barbados Joe worked odd jobs, including as a fireman, porter, and handyman at Madison Square Garden, occasionally forced to throw fights due to financial pressures in an era before modern regulations. His influence extended beyond his era, inspiring later champion Jersey Joe Walcott, Arnold Crean, who adopted the surname in homage and earning posthumous induction into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1991 and the Ring Magazine Boxing Hall of Fame in 1955. Walcott met a tragic end when he was struck by a car in Massillon, Ohio at age 62, leaving a legacy as a trailblazing black boxer who overcame racial barriers and size disadvantages to sheer skill and power. Barbados Joe Walcott. All right. Okay, let's get one more in and end the week. Sam McVeigh, the great Sam McVeigh. Yes, Sam. He's most well known for that 49 round fight he had with Joe Jeanette. Sam lost it. Sam couldn't come out for the 50th round. You can't get down on the man for that. He couldn't come out for the 50th round. You got fighters nowadays can't come out for the 4th round. So you can't put no disrespect on Sam for, I wouldn't even call it quitting. The man couldn't come out for the 50th round. Man. So wow. But let's talk about Sam. But he came out 49 that time though. He fought Joe Jeanette. Yeah. So he fought him and Joe Jeanette. He had Joe Jeanette on here. There's Joe Jeanette right there. And this fight was in Paris. A lot of the black fighters at the time went to Paris to fight because, people over here wouldn't pay to see them. But the people in Paris loved them. They were good fighters. And, the European crowds always appreciated boxing way more than we do, American fans, still to this day. And even back then, the black fighters couldn't get crowds to come over here. But when they went to Europe to fight, places were sold out, man. They always been better boxing fans than us over there. It's just a fact. That's a fact. Still to this day. Hate to admit that, but it's a fact. Mm-hmm. But Sam McVeigh, we're gonna close it down at the Sam. Okay. But Sam was an American heavyweight boxer, and Sam competed as a pro from 1902 to 1921, 19-year career. And he amassed a record of approximately because of he had newspaper decisions. We started in 1902. But BoxRec got him at 65 wins, 15 losses, 12 draws. That's 92 fights. 47 by way of knockout. Okay. BoxRec got him at 92, but he got well over 100 with newspaper decisions. He was born in Waldo, Texas, but closely associated with Oxnard, California, where he trained and earned his moniker, McVeigh. Okay, he stood at 5 feet 10 and a half inches and weighed around 215 pounds in his prime. Known for his compact build, hard punching power, and durability against top opponents. Okay, against top opponents. As one of the leading black heavyweights of his era, alongside figures like Jack Johnson, Sam Langford, and Joe Jeanette, McVeigh fought internationally in the United States, France, England, Australia, Cuba, Argentina, Chile, and Panama. Okay? But he was denied. Excuse me for a minute. Come on, man. We over at the end. There we go. I want to start messing up. He's fought in all these different countries, but he was denied a world title shot due to prevailing racial exclusions in boxing at the time. Inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in the inaugural year 1990 in the old timers category, McVeigh is regarded as one of the most formidable heavyweights never to fight for the championship. He has victories over elite contenders, highlighting his skill and resilience until his death at age 37. Wow, 37. Okay, we're gonna stop it right there for the week. Okay, but next week we'll be back Monday with more boxing. It's a whole week of it. Okay. Appreciate you, Cameron. Terrell. Yeah, next week we'll be back. And we got a fight tonight, card tonight. Michael Conlon headlining that one. And just to review the weekend real quick, we got a couple minutes. Yeah, Michael Conlon tonight with Northern Ireland. And Ammo and Carlos Adames putting his title on the line against Ammo tomorrow. I can't see no path to victory for Ammo. I'm just, it is this boxing, anything can happen, but it has to be anything have to happen for Ammo to get that one. I'm sorry. Yeah. I told you Father Time to flew in that wherever Ammo live at, and he's waiting for him to get back after the fight to let him know. That's it, Ammo. That's it. I mean, get a couple more bags and, be a journeyman or a gatekeeper, whatever. But as far as titles and stuff, that's it for him. But he's fighting tomorrow. Who knows? That looks silly Monday. Ammo knock Godama out. I ain't even coming on next week if Ammo knock Godama out. I ain't gonna be able to face y'all. But yeah, I think this. I can't see Ammo winning that one. Omari Jones on that card too. And then Lester Martinez in action tomorrow too. This is his first fight since that Vaughn Burner against and Billy. Remember that one? Wow, they went deep in the fight. It was like a magnet. Each of them had a magnet on them. In the middle of the ring was the metal that drew them right to it. And when the bell rang, they just marched right out there to the middle and went at it for 3 minutes. Then they go back to the corners. When the bell ring again, they march right out there to the middle, man. That's where they stayed at for 12 rounds. And then it was a draw after all of that. I knew for sure they was going to beat each other's next fight, man. But they haven't, nope. It went in a different direction. Fight like that, man, is rematch written all over it. I don't understand it. You made the first one. What's so hard about making a rematch? It's crazy, man. It's frustrating. That was a very entertaining fight. I love that, man. I like the sweet science and the movement and ring generalship too, but I also love that kind of barn burner. And man, I mean, I don't understand why they were at each other's immediate rematch. Damn, that's crazy. But it didn't happen. But then we got, I think next week is Keith Sturman. Yeah, it is next week. Sebastian Fundora and Keith. I just think that's going to end bad for Keith, man. He's going to be looking something like Fundora had Luden looking, remember? Yeah. I mean, Keith is just, sometimes it's just time to get out, man. Well, if you're going to fight, don't fight no killers like Fundora. Fundora is very adept at using those advantages he got, fighting that range and everything. I just can't see no path to victory for Keith. I can't see it. He never had no whole much of power or nothing. So, I don't know. He still got his movement and escapability and stuff, though. I don't know. I'm going to watch it, though. Okay. That's next week. Moses Atama. Is Moses? Yeah, Moses is next week, too. The young British. He's going to be the next big thing in Great Britain boxing. Fighting Jermaine Franklin Jr. Yeah. Moses ain't ready for no Usyk. They was talking. I said, y'all done bumped y'all heads and lost y'all mind. That young kid in there with Usyk. He might not never be the same again. Usyk gonna box circles around this young kid, man. Gonna be smiling while he's doing it. And then Wilder and Derek Chisora coming up in a couple of weeks. Monster and Inoue. I keep saying that. Monster and Inoue. Monster and Nakatani is May 2nd, early in the month. And then Benavidez and Yard. That's going to be a huge win for whoever wins that one. Whoever comes out of that one with the hand raise is going to be a huge win for them. Zerto or Benavidez. Ferro got me leaning toward Zerto a little bit. A little bit. Okay. Just a little bit. That's going to be a good fight. Like I said, whoever wins it will be a huge win. Okay. But I appreciate everybody for stopping by today and for the week. Okay. Technique, Mike Mazik, Cameron Terrell, the legendary Thomas Hill, the Drunk Irishman, Cameron Terrell, the Boxing Menu Podcast, Mike Rim, Crush, the legend, Al Booger, and Miss Cass. Appreciate y'all 1,000,000%. We'll be back Monday with some more boxing history. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all of that boxing. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a great weekend. I will catch up with y'all again on the other side of it on Monday.